Okay, we can start. Today we will talk about our deployment system that we developed for our company because we had some problems with other deployment systems that we need to use. My name is Bojan Milanković, and I am a lead developer in company Studio Present. I will talk first half of presentation and second half the technical stuff. Will talk my colleague Goran Nikolovski. Let's see what is deployment. Software deployment is a number of activities that we need to be done for software to be available for use. So it is very easy when you have some own code that is not Drupal, when you have some code or you have some small changes in database and you want to develop and to deploy that to your live server. That is easy because you only need to copy. And with Drupal, it is much more complicated because everything is changed. For example, if you want to deploy something, you need to deploy code, you need to deploy your database changes, if you have some changes in content or settings, and you need to deploy your files and other stuff. So, what is Drupal deployment? How many of you was working in Drupal 7? And Drupal 8? Okay, almost everyone who works on 7 work on 8, no? Okay, in Drupal 7, there was a problem when you want to deploy something. You do some changes in Drupal 7 on your website. For example, you create view or create something, and you want to deploy it to the live server. Then you didn't have any opportunity to do that except to use features module. And if you develop your own module, you could deploy like everything else. That was standard because everything you was working for module development in Drupal 7, everything is the same in Drupal 8. But for now, in Drupal 8, we have some changes that are now in core, and that is configuration export and import. Configuration export and import is in Drupal core, and the change is that some parts of features that was in features model in Drupal 7 is now in Drupal 8 core. And you still need to use, in bigger websites, you can use features model because you have some pretty good stuff. For example, if you want to deploy only code, only some, for example, content type, you just click deploy, and every field that is included in the content type is included in your configuration file. So, based on these conclusions, we could say that features model in Drupal 7 is something like configuration export import in Drupal 8 for simple websites. And now, Drupal 8 have 3 cases or 3 workflows when you want to deploy your website. First, it is when you create your website on your development server and you want to push that to the live server. And we call that init. We call that command init because that is initialization. First time when you initialize your website for the first time. And then as time goes on, some changes are made on your live or production website, and you need to pull all the changes to your development server, so you can change your code and something if you need some new feature or something else. So we call that deployment dev. That is our internal command in our console that will Goran talk later. And when we maintain or develop some feature, we need to push back to our production site. You see this in brackets, that are commands that will Goran talk about later. And now, internal deployment, why we did that? Why we created our own deployment infrastructure and system? Because we are a company that in 99 cases of our developed websites are hosted in our servers. And we have our server that is production server, and we have development servers. So we manage that our development server is the copy or clone of our production server. We wanted to have some standard solution to avoid problems or possibilities for mistakes, because if any, we have many developers, and someone could probably make some mistake and on live site to make a mistake. So we created an automatic solution. After that, we had some problems with our customers, because we have a lot of customers that remain from previous time, and we need to give them some possibility or cheaper solution, not to go from our development system to some other, for example, Amazon. And so we created our structure, and that is, I already told that the development server and live servers are clones. We are using GitLab for version control. We are using Symfony console component, that is the main part of this console that will Goran talk about. We also have PHP and MySQL on web servers installed using Nginx, Varnish, and HTTP or HTTPS for manipulation. So how we are doing everything? That we are using local settings. In the local settings, all caches are disabled for maintenance, for developers to not, so they don't need to every time when make changes clear cache, and all development options are enabled. We are using domain alias and small settings PHP hack. I call that small settings PHP hack. That is because we have one domain on our development site, on development server, and the same domain has a suffix with dev. And in our settings PHP hack, we are looking for domain. If domain has a suffix dev, we are automatically using options that are in settings local PHP file. So everything with disabled and enabled for development are on that alias or that subdomain. And if you are going not on dev domain, you will get a test site. And we are using also Varnish for port manipulation to check if everything works okay with Varnish. And now Goran will talk about.
my colleague Bojan spoke about the reasons why we created this application, and I will give you just a quick overview of the application itself, how it works. And so our console application is not written from scratch. It depends on existing applications. As Bojan said, main software that we are using is a simple console component, and other applications that we are using are Git, MySQL dump, rsync, and Rush. These applications perform various operations. So we decided to write our own application because we think it's a fun and also a great opportunity to learn, especially to learn about Drupal 8 configuration management system, which is a new thing for us because we have extensive experience in Drupal 7, and there was no such thing in Drupal 7. So we decided to use Symfony console component because we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We didn't want to think about things like accept user input, parse user input, and stuff like that. So we decided to use Symfony console component because it allowed us to focus on what makes our application unique. When we started to think about this application, we didn't know in which language to write it, but we pretty quickly decided to write in PHP because all members of our team understand PHP. So that means that our application is maintainable. Every member of our team can jump in and see if there is a bug or anything, or if it needs to be extended. So that is also one of the reasons. And since Drupal 8 is based on the Symfony framework, Symfony console component was an obvious choice for us. So from the very beginning, we wanted to make things simple. So there are only 3 commands in the application. As Bojan said, deploy init, deploy live, and deploy dev. There are also aliases for these commands. So once the development is done and our client is happy with the way website works and looks, we are ready to move the website from our development server to one of our production servers. For that, we are using deploy init command. This command is used only once for the initial deployment, and operations that we are performing are copying Drupal files, copying all files that belong to content, such as images, videos, or whatever, and copying database. And also, our application is doing some additional operations like setting up file permissions, doing some cleanup, and things like that. We are also this command is talking with our GitLab instance, so we are creating a git commit, and we are also backing up the database. This means that we can easily restore and revert if something goes bad. Okay. So we don't do any development on the production server. So that means that if we have to change something after the initial deployment, we need command to transfer updates. So we are using deploy live command for that. And there are 2 options for this. If we change something in the configuration only, like created a new view, placed a new block, or maybe added a new field in some content type, then we are using this command with config only flag. This way, we are basically exporting and importing YML files. And in the case that we added a new module or changed existing, or maybe did something with a theme, then we are using deploy live command. And this command basically uses rsync to transfer all changes to production server. And last command that we have is deploy dev. Now we have a rule that after the initial deployment, we cannot change anything on dev server regarding to content. Content can be changed only on production. So, and on dev server we can change only code and configuration. So to pull down content, to have fresh content in our development server, we need a command for that. We are using deploy dev. This command basically pulls down the database, and it also pulls down every file that is connected to content, such as images, videos, PDFs, or whatever. So And now we didn't want to bother you with code and stuff like that, but there are a lot of shell exec calls that we are calling various applications. We are using a local instance of GitLab for Git, and for domain management on both servers we have virtual min. So both these systems have APIs. So we are using Gazelle calls to communicate with both of these systems. And at every step of application has a way of backing up files. So whenever it's necessary, we are using Git to make a commit, and we are also backing up the database. So we have been using this application for the last 6 months or so, and we had good results in practice. It speeds up the way we can create new products for small websites, and we plan to work in the future more on this application. And now we cannot, I know that that is a problem, but we cannot open source this application because it is tightly coupled to our infrastructure. We are using GitLab, virtual min, and there are also a few more things. So at this point, we cannot release it on GitHub or wherever. So it needs a rewrite to be open sourced. And that is basically a quick overview of the application. So this is a chart that shows basically what is happening. And that pretty much concludes our presentation. So if you have any questions, we will respond. Well, we are using this for small and medium websites. For bigger websites, we are using a different system. And because we wanted to have a fast deployment option that is cheap, and for our clients who want the website very fast, they don't want to pay a lot of money, so we are using this for small websites and medium websites also. Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much for attending in such a large number. Thank you.